So this is Blumhouse's first movie of the year based on a short film of the same name. Now, if you guys remember, I actually reviewed that original short at the beginning of the year and I thought it was pretty cool. Unfortunately, the movie version is definitely not as good. There's some small tense moments but really no scares. The third act takes an extremely goofy tone switch compared to the rest of the movie, and really the biggest problem is that this movie is incredibly boring. It takes about an hour into this thing for anything substantial to happen, which I think proves that this concept works better as a short rather than a 90-minute Blumhouse movie. This is definitely not Blumhouse's worst movie of the year so far, but that doesn't mean that it's good either. So this is an 80s style horror comedy directed by Zelda Williams, the daughter of Robin Williams, and I thought this movie was really fun. This is the best performance I've seen from Kathryn Newton, and Cole Sprouse is super charming as this undead corpse. I really liked the soundtrack, the intense purple, pink, and green colors, but really my favorite part about this movie was that it does not take itself very seriously in the best way possible. This movie has such a strong, fun 80s camp vibe to it, which was just an absolute blast to watch. I can definitely see this having a very strong cult following, and I'm very excited to see what Zelda Williams does in the future. So this, of course, is the Sydney Sweeney Nun movie, and I honestly just thought this movie was okay. I thought Sydney Sweeney was really flat and dull in the first half, but she did get a little bit better in the second half. There's some really nice bloody moments, and I really liked it when it leaned into more of a goofy tone, but this story is the same kind of nun horror story you've seen about 100 times before. The evil plan in this is borderline Jurassic Park and way too goofy and stupid for this movie's own good, and honestly, everything that this movie tries to do is just executed way better in the first Omen. The ending was pretty cool, though. So this is the latest from Guy Ritchie, and I thought this movie was pretty cool. I really liked the performances. My favorites were Henry Cavill, Alan Richardson, and the guy who plays Jamis in Dune. I didn't want to butcher his name, so that's why I said that instead. A lot of the humor worked for me. The editing is fast-paced but really easy to follow. I liked the crisp sound design, the over-the-top kills, the fun espionage. But the thing I liked the most about this movie was just learning that this was a true story in the first place. I know they take a lot of creative liberties with stuff like this, but it was really cool to learn about a really cool story from back in the day. So this, of course, is part 2 of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon series, and to be honest, I thought this movie was really underwhelming. Now, if you guys remember my review for part 1 from back in December, you'll remember that I actually kind of liked part 1, and mostly because I was actually pretty interested in the story, and I was curious to see where this story was headed going into part 2, and now that I've seen part 2, yeah, I thought this movie was really underwhelming. I honestly felt like I cared about the characters way less. I noticed the slow motion and the grease-smeared lens a lot more this time. The pace is just way too slow. The stakes in this movie feel way too small for a story like this. And really, this movie just has such a huge level of gravitas to it that does not feel earned at all. I do find this world very interesting, and I definitely don't hate this movie as much as a lot of other people do, but I definitely don't think I will be checking out the director's cut coming out later this year. So this is a documentary produced by Glenn Powell and J.J. Abrams about the United States Navy Blue Angels crew. And I honestly really enjoyed this. I really liked learning about how the Blue Angels as a whole work. It's a lot of hard work for what they do, which was really cool to learn about since I really knew nothing about them going in. The flight scenes are filmed the same way that Top Gun Maverick's flight scenes are filmed, and they feel just as exhilarating as Maverick's. And really my very small complaint with the documentary is that I wish I got to learn more about the individual pilots on a more personal level. Now, I have seen some complaints for this that say it is just an advertisement for the military, and I really didn't see it that way at all. I really saw it as a cool documentary about passionate people doing some really cool shit.